The moment I walked into the restaurant in Rome, I knew I didn't belong there. A gorgeous table, but there was no room for me. It was my mother-in-law's 70th birthday, a celebration I'd planned for months. Everything was flawless, every detail, except there was no chair for me at the table. My husband let out a small, amused laugh. Oops. Guess we miscounted. The table erupted in light chuckles. That kind of polite, cold laughter that hides the real truth. I stood there, heat rising up my neck, but my voice didn't shake. Seems I'm not family, I said. Then I turned and walked out. No one followed. 30 minutes later, they realized what I'd done. The entire event canceled. Venue, catering, every booking gone. Their faces drained white when the staff started removing centerpieces from the private dining room. Sean's mother looked like she'd swallowed glass. I stood at the entrance, still in my heels, still calm, still watching. Seems I'm not family, I said again. My voice didn't waver, but my chest was breaking open from the inside. 12 faces stared back at me, some in shock, some in quiet satisfaction. Sean's careless oops still rang in my ears. I walked away from a table where no one had saved me a seat. And I didn't cry. Not one tear. Instead, I opened the event management app I'd built my career on. 30 minutes. That's all I needed. It was more than enough. But before I take you deeper into what happened, let me thank you for being here. Sometimes, the most defining moments are the ones where we finally stop begging for space and start walking toward our own. If you've ever felt like an outsider in a room full of people who claim to love you, you might find yourself in this story. Because this is where Anna Morgan Caldwell stopped being a perfect wife and started becoming something else entirely. 5 years ago, I was just Anna Morgan, founder of Elite Affairs, Boston's premier event planning firm. I had built my business from nothing, put myself through school, hustled harder than anyone I knew. Every polished gala, every high-end wedding, every Fortune 500 party, I was behind it all. Quiet, precise, flawless. And that's how I met Sean Caldwell at a charity event for Boston Children's Hospital. He was tall, effortless, the kind of man who didn't need to try because life had already handed him everything. Are you the wizard behind all this? He asked, gesturing at the transformed ballroom. His charm was practiced, but there was warmth behind it. He was curious about my work, or at least he made me believe he was. That night, I met the Caldwells, Boston royalty. Old money, the kind of wealth that didn't need logos. Their lives were stitched together with subtlety and tradition. Understated power. Sean introduced me to his mother at a formal dinner 2 months later. She looked at me like a stain she couldn't scrub out of her linens. "You've done well for yourself," Eleanor had said, smiling without warmth. Self-made success is so American. I ignored the warnings. I told myself Sean was different. He didn't care about status. He was kind, thoughtful. He listened. When he proposed 11 months later, I said yes. Even with the quiet voice inside me whispering, "They will never accept you." I planned most of our wedding myself. Couldn't trust anyone else with the details. Eleanor criticized everything. The venue, the food, the guest list. Sean played peacekeeper, but he never once stood up to her. After the wedding, it got worse. They still used my company for their events, but decisions were questioned, credit taken, details changed last minute. At family gatherings, they asked for my input, then ignored it. To Eleanor, I wasn't a businesswoman. I was the family's in-house party planner. Sean never defended me. "That's just how she is," he'd say. "Don't take it personally." But it was personal. And still I stayed. Still I gave. Still I tried to belong. Eleanor's 70th birthday was supposed to be my redemption. A week in Rome. Michelin-starred dinners. Private tours. A celebration to make the family see me. I poured myself into the planning. Spared no effort.
No detail.
No cost. That's when I noticed the cracks. Vendors called me directly, confused about unpaid deposits. Sean said it was a banking issue. International wires. he explained like that meant anything. But then I saw it. His laptop left open. Accounts drained. Credit maxed. Properties mortgaged. The Caldwells weren't just broke. They were drowning. I used my own credit line to keep things afloat, because I believed Sean would come clean. That this was just temporary. Then, the morning we were flying to Rome, his phone pinged while he was in the shower. A message preview. Can't wait to see you in Rome. Have you told her yet? I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Vanessa Hughes. His college girlfriend. The one his mother adored. The one they thought he'd marry. The texts went back months. Secret meetings. Future plans. A baby. 4 months along. I took screenshots. Forwarded them to myself. Deleted the thread from his phone. Then smiled. Packed. Boarded the flight. I had a job to finish. And a reckoning to deliver. We landed in Rome just as the sun dipped below the skyline. I'd arranged everything. Private vans. Hotel suites. Welcome baskets. Eleanor stepped off the plane, looked at the cars, and frowned. I thought I specified hotel cars, Anna. These seem rather generic. I explained. She didn't care. She was already whispering with Richard. The Hotel de Russie rolled out the red carpet. 5-star everything. They barely noticed. Sean's phone buzzed the moment we got to our suite. He stepped out onto the terrace. Work? I asked. He nodded, eyes avoiding mine. Investment thing. I didn't press. Just smiled and said, let's get ready for dinner. That night, the seating arrangement accidentally changed. I ended up at the far end of the table. Not next to my husband, not even in the conversation. Inside jokes flew. Stories from trips I'd never been invited to. I tried to join in. Got shut out. Melissa turned to me. Oh, Anna, we're skipping the Vatican tour tomorrow. Doing some family shopping instead. I blinked. Family shopping? Eleanor jumped in. Just a little tradition, dear. You'd be bored. Better use your time checking on the birthday dinner. That's your thing, after all. Every day after that, it continued. Sean was gone before I woke. Notes scribbled on hotel stationery. The family vanished for hours. Plans I was never told about. When I walked into the lobby, whispers died. Eyes shifted. Then came the third morning. Sean rushed out, forgot his briefcase. Inside, draft separation papers. Dated 2 months ago. Prepared by the Caldwell family attorney. And just like that, I knew. They weren't just cutting me out of the family. They were rewriting the story entirely. So I started writing my own. There it was, black ink on crisp white paper. A script. Not just any script. My exit. Word-for-word lines. Stage directions. Emotional cues. Sean was going to announce our divorce during his mother's birthday dinner, framed as mutual. Of course. Amicable. Respectful. Clean. They'd planned it all. The perfect way to erase me without scandal. Without mess. A proposed settlement was included, an insult dressed as an offer. A pittance. Barely a sliver of what I was owed. But the worst part? The sentence at the bottom of the last page. This moment will offer clarity to all parties. We wish Anna every happiness in the next chapter of her life. No. They didn't wish me happiness. They wished me gone. I photographed everything. Page by page. My hands shook, but my grip stayed steady. Eleanor's birthday wasn't just a celebration. It was my funeral. A public burial. Anna Caldwell, unsuitable wife, quietly removed. But instead of rage, I felt something sharper. Colder. Focus. I went methodical. Precise. Strategic. Every day, I made excuses to return to our suite. Looking for more. And I found it. Bank statements, massive withdrawals to offshore accounts. Emails detailing quiet asset liquidations before it goes public. And a note. Handwritten. From Eleanor. Once this unpleasantness with Anna is behind us, Vanessa will be welcomed back properly. I kept my mask in place. Confirmed floral arrangements. Reviewed the menu. Met with the maitre d'. All smiles. All grace. But I wasn't planning a birthday anymore. I was building a case. The morning of Eleanor's birthday was Roman perfection. Blue sky. Crisp air. I slipped out of bed early, leaving Sean asleep, unaware. There was a full day ahead. Private tour of the Borghese Gallery. Lunch in wine country. The dinner was the crown jewel. And I had to arrive early, as always. In the hotel's business center, printing confirmations, I heard her voice, sharp and cold, cutting through the thin wall from the concierge desk. There will be 12 seats, not 13. My stomach turned. The seating chart I sent is final. No need for questions. Her husband knows. She won't be staying. A family matter. That was it. The missing seat wasn't a mistake. It was the plan. They didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to vanish. Quietly. Without drama. Just another failed social experiment. I shut my laptop. Picked up my papers. Walked to the elevator.
Calm. Composed.
By the time I stepped inside, I was already making new arrangements. If the Caldwells wanted a night to remember, I'd give them one. Just not the one they rehearsed. I arrived at Aroma an hour early. The rooftop glowed in golden light. The Colosseum loomed behind it, majestic, ancient, cracked with history. I inspected everything. Every petal, every card, every knife and napkin. The place cards were calligraphed by hand. The white peonies, Eleanor's favorite, arranged perfectly. The champagne chilled. The cake, a masterpiece. Marco, the maitre d', approached me. Is everything to your satisfaction, Signora Caldwell? I smiled. Perfect.
And it was.
The final event I would ever plan for that family. Back at the hotel, I dressed with care. Midnight blue Valentino. A nod to elegance, to war. As I brushed on eyeliner, I stared at the woman in the mirror. 5 years of bending, smiling, pleasing. They hadn't broken me. They'd forged me. Down in the lobby, the family gathered. Eleanor, radiant in vintage Chanel. Sean's eyes flickered when he saw me. Maybe a memory, maybe a calculation. Anna, darling, you look lovely, Eleanor said, brushing air near my cheeks. We're just waiting for the cars. The ride was short, filled with fake conversation and awkward silences. The elevator up to the rooftop was silent, but for the hum of forced civility. Sean placed his hand on the small of my back. Once intimate. Now a performance for the elevator attendant. Then the doors opened. And there it was. My design. My work. My vision. A terrace of light and linen and beauty. Rome unfolding behind it. They moved toward the round table, 12 seats. Not 13. I followed behind Sean. He sat beside Eleanor, who was glowing with pride. I reached the spot where I should have been. There was nothing.
No chair. No plate.
No place card. Just absence. For a heartbeat, I froze. The staff, trained, professional, looked at me, confused and uneasy. And then Eleanor's voice, loud enough to draw attention. Is something wrong? I kept my voice steady.
There seems to be a mistake.
My place setting is missing. They moved through their lines perfectly. Brows furrowed. Sean half stood. That's odd. Melissa glanced around. Did someone count wrong? Richard cleared his throat. Must have been a mix-up. Then Sean delivered his line. The one rehearsed. The one designed to make me small. He chuckled.
Oops.
Guess we miscounted. The table laughed.
Soft.
Controlled. A private joke I wasn't in on. And that was the moment. That split second where everything came into focus. They had planned this down to the breath. The public setting. The script. The exit. I looked around. Eleanor, smiling. Richard, complicit. Melissa and Thomas, enjoying the drama. Their spouses? Uncomfortable but silent. And Sean, the man I once loved, watching me like I was a lab rat. I could have flipped the table, demanded a seat, exposed the plan, but that's what they wanted. They wanted hysterical Anna. Unstable, emotional, easy to erase. Instead, I straightened, lifted my chin.
And spoke.
Seems I'm not family. For words.
Simple. Precise. Deadly.
The laughter stopped. Sean's face shifted. He didn't know this version of me. I'll see myself out, I added.
Calm. Clear.
Unshaken. Anna, don't be dramatic, Sean called after me. Another scripted line. We can fix this. I kept walking. I nodded at the waitstaff.
Kind.
Grateful. Human. In the elevator, I breathed deep.
Once. Twice.
By the time I reached the street, my hands had stopped shaking. Across from the restaurant was a small cafe. Empty. Quiet.
Perfect.
I sat, ordered an espresso, and opened my phone.
Now.
It began. I sent the first email to Marco. The contingency plan. A cancellation clause we'd quietly discussed just in case. Attached, my credentials, account confirmation, payment reversal authorization. Then came the calls. The vineyard, the Vatican guide, the yacht captain, the villa in Tuscany. Every event canceled. Every deposit reclaimed. Each call lifted a weight. Then the text started.
Sean.
One after another.
Confused.
Then annoyed. Then frantic. I ignored them all. 28 minutes after walking out, I finished my espresso. Paid the bill. Time for the final act. I walked back across the street. Entered Aroma through the service door, something only a real planner would know. Marco met me, concerned. Signora Caldwell, are you sure? I'm sure. I handed him an envelope. Inside, confirmation of payment reversals, cancellation of guarantees. As discussed, they'll need a new method of payment to continue. He nodded. He owed me.
Trusted me.
When should I tell them? In 5 minutes. He led me to a small alcove near the kitchen. Hidden but perfect. From there, I could see the whole table. They were mid-toast. Champagne raised. Faces glowing. Eleanor looked victorious. The first course had just been served. Ostra caviar flown in per her request. She had no idea the empire was about to fall. It was almost too easy to dismantle Eleanor Caldwell's birthday week. Because power, real power, lives in the details. In contracts. In fine print. In whose name sits at the top of the invoice. Every booking. Every deposit. Every signature on those files.
Mine.
High-end vendors trust relationships, not last names. And I was the relationship. I didn't need permission. I was the authority. My phone buzzed again.
San.
Anna, where are you? Stop being childish and come back. A second message. Mother is upset. You're embarrassing yourself. I ignored both. Instead, I messaged Carmen at the villa in Tuscany, the final leg of their extravagant journey. Carmen confirmed the cancellation. Warmly. Professionally. Even promised to return the generous tip I'd sent ahead to her staff. Another buzz. More texts. The hotel just called. Our reservation is canceled. What are you doing? Anna, this is ridiculous. This isn't funny. Fix this now. I sent one final text. To Marco, you may proceed. From my hidden alcove, I watched him approach the table.
Calm.
Controlled. 2 other staff members flanked him. It looked formal. Serious. He leaned toward Richard, head of the table, opposite Eleanor. At first, no one noticed. Then Richard's expression changed. Polite confusion to alarm. He pulled out his wallet, talking faster. Marco shook his head.
Politely.
Firmly. He showed Richard something on a tablet. The atmosphere shifted. Forks paused midair. Smiles faded. Eleanor slowly lowered her utensils. Her posture, usually regal, tightened. Sean stared at his phone. Reading, I assumed the message I'd just sent. All deposits have been returned to my company account. All events for the week are canceled. Your family's financial secrets are about to become very public. Enjoy your caviar. And just like that, chaos. Richard stood abruptly, face flushed. Eleanor clutched her diamond necklace like it could shield her. Melissa whispered frantically to her husband. Thomas pulled out his phone, trying to confirm what couldn't be undone. And Sean didn't move. He knew. He knew this wasn't just a ruined dinner. It was exposure.
My phone rang.
Sean again. This time, I answered. His voice was low and sharp. A hiss. What the hell do you think you're doing? I smiled. Seems I'm not family, I said calm.
Precise.
So, I'm not responsible for family celebrations. You need to fix this.
Now.
Do you know how humiliating this is for all of us? I know exactly. That was the point. Where are you? His tone cracked. Desperate now. We need to talk. I can explain about Vanessa about everything. I'm sure you can. But I've seen the financials, Sean. The emails. The offshore transfers. The shell accounts you created before filing. His silence confirmed everything. Those were private.
Yes.
Just like the messages from Vanessa. Just like the script for the divorce announcement. Just like the seating chart that didn't include me. Nothing. On the restaurant floor, Marco was now addressing the entire table. Guests turned in their seats. Other diners watched openly. The Caldwells had built their lives on discretion. Now their fall was dinner theater. Anna, please. Sean's voice lost all its polish. Just fear now. Raw and trembling. You don't understand what this will do to us. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. That's why I did it. We can work this out. Please come back to the hotel. Give me 20 minutes.
No, Sean.
We're not working anything out. I hung up and stepped into the light. 12 heads turned as I approached. Their expressions a carousel of shock, anger, fear. Eleanor stood first. Her voice sharp, venom laced with desperation. How dare you ruin my birthday? I didn't flinch.
I didn't yell.
I smiled. I learned from the best, Eleanor. Isn't this what you wanted for me? A public humiliation? The difference is, I rewrote the ending. Richard shot up from his chair. This is outrageous. You had no right. I had every right, I said, voice steady. Every contract, every booking, every payment mine. I simply adjusted the plans. Melissa sneered. You'll regret this. When Sean divorces you, you'll get nothing. I turned to Sean. Locked eyes. That's where you're wrong. I have everything. The accounts, the offshore records, the proof of fraud. And I'm sure the IRS will be very interested. Silence. Ghost white faces. I didn't feel triumphant. Not even vindicated. Just free. I turned, walked away, and didn't look back. I left Rome the next morning. First class, direct to Boston. Paid in full with points I'd earned planning the Caldwells' past luxury vacations. The irony wasn't lost on me. Through the concierge, I learned the Caldwells paid for dinner with collateral, Eleanor's vintage Bulgari bracelet. They had to arrange a wire transfer just to settle the bill. By sunrise, the whispers had spread. Rome's hospitality network was buzzing. An American dynasty, suddenly short on credit. More messages came in.
Sean.
Richard. Melissa. Thomas. Some were threats. Some pleas. I read them from the British Airways lounge in London, sipping Earl Grey. Richard. This is actionable. Our lawyers will be in touch. Melissa. You've made the biggest mistake of your life. Thomas. You think you can humiliate our family without consequences? Eleanor's was the most revealing. I always knew you were common. This vindictive display only proves it. But Sean's told the real story. You have no idea what you've done. My father had a minor, heart episode. Is that what you wanted? The Prescotts and Whitmores saw everything. Do you know what that means? The hotel is demanding full payment up front. They said all guarantees are void. Please, Anna. It's about more than us now. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded everything to my lawyer, told him to hold the documents,
To be ready if they came for me.
When I got home to our Beacon Hill brownstone, I called movers. I took only what was mine.
Clothes.
Jewelry I bought myself. My first edition books. The art I collected before marriage. Everything else? I left behind, including the Caldwells. 2 days later, a small headline appeared in the Boston Globe's Society section: Caldwell Investment Group faces inquiry. It wasn't front-page news, but in Boston's elite circles, it hit like a tremor. 1 week later, Sean showed up. Unannounced. Uninvited. He looked wrecked. "You need to come home," he said. "This isn't a negotiation, Sean. This is divorce." He stepped inside anyway.
Sat down.
Ran his hands through his hair. "The SEC is investigating. Board members have resigned. Mother had to cancel her gala. Donors pulled out." "That sounds like a Caldwell problem," I said. "Not mine. It's your problem if I go down with the ship. We're still married. My debts are your debts." I smiled just a little. "Not when I have evidence you hid assets with intent to defraud. Not when I was excluded from financial decisions." He sagged, shoulders caving in. "I never wanted it to be like this." "What did you want, Sean? A wife to plan your parties? Keep your calendar? Smile beside you while you ran back to Vanessa?" "It wasn't like that. I did love you, but not enough to stand up to them. Not enough to be honest." I sat across from him.
Come.
Measured. "When's the baby due?" His head snapped up. "How did you?" "4 months. That's what the text said." "Congratulations." Silence. Outside, it began to rain. A soft tapping on the windows of my new apartment. Smaller than the brownstone, but mine. Paid for with money I earned. Alone. "Name your price," he finally said. "Just give me the documents. Sign the NDA. I'll give you whatever you want." And there it was. The final proof. After everything, he still thought I could be bought.
You still don't get it, I said.
"I don't want your money. I want my freedom and the truth." I stood. "The documents stay with my lawyer unless you drag me down. The divorce is simple. I walk away with what's mine. You walk away with what's left." A beat. "And Vanessa?" I asked. Sean didn't answer. Just whispered, "The baby, that's between you and your conscience," I told him quietly. "I hope you're a better husband to her than you were to me." He didn't answer. Just stood there, silent, drained. Then he left. After the door clicked shut, I stayed by the window. The rain had picked up. Steady. Relentless. Cleansing. The scandal didn't explode. It leaked. Slow and steady, like water seeping through cracked foundations. The Boston Globe ran a deeper piece. Financial irregularities. Questioned investments. Quiet exits by longtime clients. Whispers turned to conversations. By the end of the month, Caldwell Investment Group was no longer Boston's golden firm. Eleanor slipped off her pedestals one by one. 3 charity boards quietly moved her to emeritus roles. Not fired. Just faded. And Vanessa? The city's rumor mill found her waddling into her OBGYN's office, diamond ring glinting under fluorescent lights. She wasn't just pregnant. She was publicly engaged. The math didn't lie. Their story had started long before mine ended. In Boston's upper circles, discretion is currency. Sean and Eleanor had spent theirs recklessly. And me?
My phone didn't stop ringing.
Clients who once side-eyed me for being new money now called me a professional with backbone. A woman who stood up when it would have been easier to stay silent. The story wasn't of a woman scorned. It was about someone who refused to be erased. 6 months later, I opened a cream-colored envelope and actually laughed out loud. An invitation to bid on planning Eleanor Caldwell's next charity gala. Apparently desperation had finally outbid pride. I declined. Politely. Full schedule. The divorce papers came through without a single courtroom battle. No drama.
No stunts.
No more games. The Caldwells were too busy trying to stop the bleeding. They agreed to everything I asked. Assets. Clean separation. Silence. Sean and Vanessa married quietly. Their daughter was born 2 weeks later. I sent no gift. 1 year after the night in Rome, I was back in Italy. This time, I stood on a sun-drenched terrace overlooking the Amalfi Coast, planning a celebrity wedding that half the world would envy. Phone in one hand, clipboard in the other, vendors waiting on my call. And somewhere in the middle of it all, I felt it,
Peace.
Not the kind you force. The kind that sneaks up on you.
Real. Still.
Earned. I wasn't happy despite losing my marriage. I was happy because I had. The Caldwells tried to make me feel small, an accessory, a placeholder. But in trying to shrink me, they did something better. They freed me. They broke the version of me who thought love meant swallowing pain, who believed belonging required silence. And in that breaking, I got to rebuild. Not as someone trying to fit into their world, but as a woman who knew her own worth, who built her own. I didn't need the chair they forgot. I needed to know I deserved to stand on my own. I raised my glass to the horizon, to the sun dipping beneath the Mediterranean, to everything I'd lost, to everything I'd found, and to the missing chair that taught me exactly where I belonged.